You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. Bitcoin, Ether, Ripple, Litecoin, and more. Cryptocurrencies and other digital assets are taking the financial world by storm. This exploding market provides everything a savvy trader needs: volatility, volume, and liquidity. Provided you know how to find it. That's where we come in. Welcome to the Crypto Rundown. Each week, we'll break down the latest trading activity, trends, and developments on everything from coins to tokens, futures, and even OTC options. If it's moving the crypto markets, then you'll find it on the Crypto Rundown. This program is brought to you by Genesis Volatility, also known as GVOL, home of institutional-grade crypto options analytics. Whether you're trading CeFi options or DeFi options, cryptocurrencies move. Use GVOL Analytics to analyze implied volatility, model realized volatility, structure positions, and unlock alpha. For more information, visit gvol.io. That's GVOL.io. Now it's time to dive into the exploding world of cryptocurrencies and digital assets. It's time for the Crypto Rundown.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back once again with the Crypto Rundown, the program here on the Options Insider Radio Network, where we explore everything going on in the crypto side of the space. Going to talk the volume, the volatility, the SKEW, the unusual activity, and a whole bunch more in your Bitcoins and your ETHs and your BITOs and a whole bunch of other fun altcoins sneaking in out there. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from the ever insightful, ever compelling network upon which so many of you folks are binging these days. November, another new record, a ridiculous record for us in the 15-plus year history of this network. Thanks to all of you out there who have been enjoying all the content and driving up my bandwidth bills. I do appreciate all of you. Remember, if you like what you hear, do keep rating and reviewing on your platform of choice. It does help new folks continue to discover the show and drive up our bandwidth bills even more. And then, of course, if you want to go above and beyond, you want to join us for exclusive content, including a lot of great crypto content in the Pro Q&A hot seat, as well as Options Oddities, where we talk about a lot of great, unusual activity from the world of options and a whole bunch more. You get great giveaways coming up. We're going to give away the November Pro Trading Crate to one of you lucky members out there. That's coming up this week, as well as, of course, live access to everything we do on here on the network and a whole bunch more. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more as we keep on rolling right on into the Bitcoin Breakdown.
It's time to explore the latest trending activity, trends, and developments across the world's leading crypto market. It's time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
All right, everybody, let's get into it. Time for the Bitcoin Breakdown, breaking down all the action in the world's leading digital asset. Yes, we're talking about the big dog, which is Bitcoin. A little bit bigger than it was this time last week. Not quite north of 17,000, even though it did get there for a brief period. Coming into the start of the show, we're at about a 16,914. That's up from a 16,225 on the show this time last week, up about 689 handles on the week. The high came on Sunday, a little bit north of the 17,000 handle, 17,364 to be precise. And to the dark side, pretty much was on our show last week, 16,225. That's pretty much about as low as we got. In terms of vol, also coming in a little bit as well out there as we continue to rally a little bit here in crypto. Maybe some of the FTX miasma is behind us. We shall see. It does seem like he's doing an endless publicity tour, so he's keeping it in the headlines. Bitcoin vol right now at about a 52. That's down from a 61 this time last week, so down about 9 points on the week. Of course, if you want to see these vol numbers as well as a whole bunch of other insightful crypto analytics, you know where to go. gvol.io. That's Genesis Volatility, now known as Amber Data. You can still go, though. gvol.io is the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. Tell them we sent you. They will be super excited and welcome you in with open arms and a whole bunch of cool analytics just like this. You can also see what's going on over there from a SKEW perspective, the 30-20 SKEW. So all the options from the 30 delta down to the 20 delta. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, go check out our Options Bootcamp, Options Playbook radio shows that will fill you in on a lot more detail there. But all the options in that range. The SKEW was still negative last week, about a negative, almost negative 5, almost negative 5.5. And coming into this show, still negative, but a little bit less so, negative 3.5. And of course, that's a far cry from what it was a few weeks ago at the height of the FTX madness when it was over a negative 12, if not worse. So still negative, but looking pretty close to flat right now as people are maybe waiting for the next shoe to drop, or maybe they're starting to see that the contagion is perhaps not as bad as they feared. We shall see. In terms of what's open out there on Deribit right now, there are about 165,000 calls open. That's up slightly, up about 2,000 from this time last week. Puts, there's about 83,000 open right now. That's down about 4,000. So we're still hanging out almost exactly 2-to-1 calls over puts out there on Deribit. In terms of the size positions, what are the size positions that are open out there on Deribit right now? Let's look at the top 5 out there. Number 5, it is the 25,000 strike with 10,700 contracts open. That is a newcomer to the top 5. Number 4, we have the 40,000 strike. So now we're getting up there, listeners. Now we're getting back to the fun, shall we say, optimistic stuff. 11,600 contracts open there. That's up a whopping 100. Not a huge evolution on the OI front this week. Number 3, we have the 15,000 strike, 12,400 contracts open there. That's down about 400 from this time last week. Number 2, we have the biggest mover of the week. We have the 19,000 strike. It's got 12,500 contracts open now. That's up about 3,200 contracts in this time last week. So some folks piling in there on the 19,000 strike. And the number 1 spot still the 30,000 strike with 13,200 contracts open. That's up a whopping 200. Not a lot of evolution on the 30,000 strike or indeed the 40,000 strike this week. They're just hanging out from positions they've had for quite some time out there. Let's get on out now to the fun over there on CME land. You can check these out for yourself, listeners, if you get on over to cmegroup.com/TWIFO. And then you could check out the cryptocurrency tab there. Scroll down a couple to cryptocurrency and then slide on in to Bitcoin. You'll see exactly what's going on with the big Bitcoin options. And the answer this week is not a ton. So far, there's a whopping 9 on the tape. Remember, these are the 5x multiplier contracts, listeners. And let's go out to last week first, too, see how many we had going up last week. Remember, we are still coming off a holiday period here, so not a ton of paper lighting it up. Even though last week was a fairly robust week for the big Bitcoin options, nearly 1,000. 956 going up last week. The big dog, the 10,000 puts in December, doing 201 contracts last week. That's big for them. It looks like there was a maybe 1x2 put spread. The 12,000, 10,000, 100 by 200 put spread went up last Thursday. So interesting stuff there. We know the 10 strike also very popular in BITO. So intriguing stuff. The 10,000 strike also popular this week in the big Bitcoin options out there at CME. Let's get to the small stuff and see if you folks were sinking your teeth into any of these micro Bitcoin contracts. And the answer is kind of. This week, not a heck of a lot, only a whopping 2 on the contract or on the tape so far this week. Last week, a little bit better. Remember, we've been talking for a while about this product really kind of struggling to get started. 171 on the tape last week. Now, it's still weird to me that the big Bitcoin options are doing far more, especially when you add in the notional value of that contract versus this one. This is a micro contract and still only doing 171 contracts For whatever reason, these micros not exactly lighting the world on fire. We'll see if that's still the case when we get on out to the Ether contracts a little bit later in the altcoin universe. First, let's go out to a product I know a lot of you are slinging these days. This is BITO coming into showtimes at about a 1060, up about 70 cents on the week. So a nice little pop for BITO out there after hanging out below 10 for quite some time. The ADV continues to remain strong, 119,000 contracts. If you don't know what that is, listeners, again, check out our Options Bootcamp, Options Playbook Radio. If you're listening to this show, you really should be listening to the full network. You're missing out on a ton of great content if you're not. The vol out there in BITO, a 64 right now. It's down about 12 points from where it was this time, at about a 76 this time last week. Let's break down some of the top positions. Let's do a top 10 in BITO because why not? You're slinging some paper out there. Number 10 is 12,000 of the March 9 puts. Number 9, 12,000 as well of the December 7 puts. Number 8, 16,000 of the December 9 puts. Number 7, 17,000 of the Dece 12 puts. Number 6, the first of only 2 calls in the top 10 in BITO this week. 23,000 of the December 12 calls. Number 5, 23,000 as well of the December 11 puts. Number 4, about 25,000 of the January 10 puts. Remember I said the 10 strike, very popular in BITO. Number 3, 35,000 of the December 10 puts. Number 2, 38,000 of the Dece 15 calls. And the number 1 size position out there in BITO options this week, 54,000 of the December 10 puts. In terms of what you folks are slinging out there today, again, it's the 10 puts that are dominating the tape out there. We got 5,000 of the Dece 10 puts going up so far this morning, followed by 4,000 of the December 11 calls. Those are expiring this week on the 9th. And then 3,000 of the Dece 10 half puts also expiring this week on the 9th. So you folks are just fixated on the 10 puts and the 10 strike pretty much across the board out there in BITO. And the ADV remains strong. So you folks are clearly expressing your preferences out there. And you folks are loving yourselves a little bit of BITO. Let's see what you're loving when we head on into the altcoin universe.
It's time to move beyond Bitcoin and find out what's moving the rest of the crypto marketplace. It's time to boldly venture into the altcoin universe.
All right, everybody, welcome to the altcoin universe, the portion of the show where we explore all the action and all the other products outside of Bitcoin, except for right now, when we break down the top 10 here from a market cap perspective, see what's leading the dance out there this week. This week, it cost you $7.9 billion worth of market cap to break into the top 10. That gets you once again to Polygon. Polygon's been holding on to that top 10 spot for a while now that Solana has been, shall we say, shown the exit, at least for now. On number 9, Cardano, hanging out at about $10.9 billion. It's a nice little jump there between number 10 and number 9. Number 8, above both of those, we've got the mighty Doge, 13.3 billion contracts, or I should say 15.3 billion worth of market cap open for Doge. Number 7, XRP, 19.3 billion. So again, another big jump between Doge and XRP. Number 6, Binance USD, 22 billion, pretty much exactly. Number 5, USD coin, 43.1 billion. So once again, a huge jump between number 6 and number 5. The number 4, BNB, hanging out right around 46 billion. Number 3, it's Tether, 65.5 billion. Numero 2, it's ETH, 153 billion. And the big dog this week, a little bit bigger than it has been in the past, 326 billion for good old BTC. Let's get into ETH. Now I know number 2 for market cap, number 1 in a lot of your hearts out there. On our last show, 1169. Coming into today's show, 1251. So a nice little resurgence out there, up about 82 points or so on the week. In terms of action, how high do we get? We just kissed, just toyed with the 1300 strike, 1301 to be precise. That was earlier this morning. And we have since retreated from that, and the low came pretty much on our last show, 1169. That was pretty much right around the low out there on the week. In terms of action, what's going on from a vol perspective? 73 is where we are right now. 78 was the vol last week, so down about 5 points out there in ETH land. So following a similar trajectory to what we're seeing out there from a Bitcoin vol perspective. Is it the same story from a SKEW perspective? And the answer also yes. 6 3/4 to the negative dark side last week and about negative 3.7 this week. So coming in about 3 points, very similar to what we're seeing out in Bitcoin land. Open interest wise, a little bit of a change up out here. About 3.1 million calls open on Deribit. That's actually up about 40,000 on the week. Meanwhile, the puts coming in a little bit, down 24,000 contracts to 759,000. So we still are hanging out a little over 4-to-1 calls over puts out there from an OI perspective. Speaking of OI, what are the size positions right now in ETH options? Well, let's find out. Number 5 out here, we have the 2,500 strike with 140,000 contracts open. That's down about 1,000 from this time last week. Number 4, we have the 1,600 strike. That's pretty much our most relevant strike here in the top 5. That's got 185,000 contracts open. That's up about 8,000. Number 3, we have the 3,500 strike. So now we're getting up there. 277,000 contracts open there. That's actually down 1,000 from this time last week. Number 2, we have the ever optimistic 4,000 strike. 329,000 contracts open there. That's down about 1,000. And the number 1 size position in ETH options remains the 3,000 strike with 336,000 contracts open. That is pretty much unchanged from what it had this time last week. Again, I've said it before. I will say it again. It will be interesting to see once December rolls off the board. We did see a huge influx, really, of 3,000 calls going up in December earlier this year. Now, when Deece rolls off the board, it'll be interesting to see how this OI shapes up. We saw a big shakeup at the end of last year. Probably something similar will happen this year as well. Let's get on out to the CME contract, see what's lighting it up out there. From a big ETH options perspective, not a ton on the tape this week. Last week, a little bit more, a whopping 65, including 19 of the 11 half calls going up last week. So the big ETH options, which are enormous, talking again a 50x multiplier, still taking a little bit of time to make their way out into the wild. Let's see what's going on from a micro ETH options perspective. Again, these are the ones that I think a lot of people were expecting big things from. And these, again, are extremely hit or miss. Got a whopping 1 on the tape this week. And last week, we were talking about a whopping 137, which is not much really at all. So intriguing stuff out there. We have seen thousands going up, 10, 12, 14,000 in a week very easily. So it's interesting to see now how both this and the micro Bitcoin lately kind of struggling out there, which is kind of intriguing out here. We'll keep an eye on all things micro Ether. See if you folks continue to pile in as we keep on rolling. We're not going to break it down from a full options volume perspective out there because Solana, as we know, has come under some scrutiny of late. But we will tell you the price action out there over the course of the past week. And it's up a little bit. It's about 13.34 on the show. Last week, 13.61 this week, up about 27 cents on the week. It's still a lot of storm clouds hanging over Solana right now. It is, of course, very closely linked to everything going on over there at FTX. It's going to be hard to disengage that product from that for a while. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll still keep watching its action, obviously. And if we start to see things reforming and starting to get a clearer picture of what's going on out there in Solana, we can, of course, return it to the show. Just for the time being, doesn't seem like it's worth anyone's time to really spend a great deal of time breaking down the size OI and the big movements and everything when there's not much going on out there. From an options perspective, at least. XRP, our old friend Ripple, 38 on the last show, 38 this week. Not pretty much unched on the week. Good old Doge. It was 9.4 cents last week, 9.9 cents, so up a whopping half a cent on the week. But for Doge, that's not nothing. Litecoin was at a 73 last week, 80.01 this week, up about 6.62 on the week. Cardano also taking a bit of a lift. It was 30.5 cents last week, 31.7 cents this week. And good old Polkadot hanging out at the bottom of our top 10, 5.15 last week, 5.45 this week, up about 30 cents. And lest it be forgotten, we have good old Shiba, which is pretty much still spinning its wheels. And a lot of Shiba Inu devotees out there would love to see the Shiba Lambos. Just not seeing those quite yet as we keep on rolling into your crypto questions.
You've got questions about crypto. Who doesn't? It's time to find out the answers to your crypto questions.
All right, everybody, let's get to the crypto questions. This week, we have a fun question of the week, which is very pertinent to this audience. We're asking you, what is your favorite new option product that you've added to your trading arsenal this year? Now, we put new in quotes there in the question because BITO options technically launched last year, but given their just extraordinary resurgence this year, we thought it was appropriate to include them on our list this week. So we gave you 3 choices plus the infamous other. We gave you BITO options, which again, very near and dear to the audience of this show, followed by the new, very popular SPX daily options. And then we gave you some of the new volatility ETPs out there. So we have your SVIX, which is your inverse VIX. You have your UVIX, which is your 1.5 levered VIX. We have SPKY, which is 1.5 levered spikes, and so on and so forth. It kind of lumped all these new additions to the vol landscape in one slot because, quite frankly, none of them are doing a ton of volume. So you kind of have to add them together. But maybe those are your preferred new vehicle. Or maybe you have an other. Maybe you have something else that you're trading that is new to you, new to your portfolio, new to the market, and you want to share it with us. Either way, get on over there to @options. Make your voice heard. I kind of thought in the early going there would be a runaway for the SPX daily options, but right now, BITO options taking the throne, 50% exactly, followed by 37.5% for SPX daily options, 12.5% for SVIX, and nobody voting other yet. This one just went live about an hour ago, so it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds and how your votes change things up throughout the week. Remember, get on over there @options on most of your major social media platforms is where you find us. This one is on Twitter, so head on over to @options on Twitter if you want to make your voice heard there, listeners. And then we have a bunch of great content coming up for you this week, listeners. We've got, of course, all your great Options Bootcamp, Options Playbook Radio, all your great educational content coming up on Education Wednesday, followed by our Pro Q&A with our buddy, Mr. Saad Hussein. For all of our pro listeners out there, you get all your questions answered about finding and what to do with unusual activity in the world of options once you find it. That'll be a good one, so stay tuned for that. And then, of course, Thursday, we have This Week in Futures Options. That's where that cryptocurrency report comes from, listeners. So check out that show if you were intrigued by all things crypto. It's coming up to the end of the year, so we will be doing our look back on cross-asset correlation for the year across everything that trades over there at CME, and crypto will be very much a part of that conversation. So stay tuned to TWIFO if you enjoy this program. Then, of course, back again next week, another episode of the Crypto Rundown. Stay safe out there, everybody.
This program is brought to you by Genesis Volatility, also known as GVol, home of institutional-grade crypto options analytics. Whether you're trading CFI options or DeFi options, cryptocurrencies move. Use GVol Analytics to analyze implied volatility, model realized volatility, structure positions, and unlock alpha. For more information, visit gvol.io. That's GVOL.io. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.